Welcome to Flickering with Gaming's 7-Day Replay. I'm your beautiful host, Gerald James, and I'm joined by Mr. Alan Christian. Say hi to the fans.
Hello.
That's right. This week we're going to talk about biggest launch in gaming history so far, maybe this year, as well as something we won't be seeing next year, and something we should never see again. So to start it off, in a phrase I never thought I would say whenever I started this, there will be no Call of Duty next year. Who'd have thunk it? Activision, apparently, behind the scenes, this is not public knowledge yet, but after Modern Warfare 2, apparently they're going to take a little bit more time putting out the next Call of Duty, given how poorly this year's Vanguard has done. I'm glad to see it. Like, you can't run these studios into the ground and expect them to churn out top of class games all the time. It's just, we're burned out. We're burned out, and I think Activision finally realizes this. Weird move to forego quite possibly their last one before the acquisition.
Yeah.
I figured they would try to scrape together as much money as they could before that happens, but here we are. Speaking of disappointing sales numbers, Square Enix. Oh, Square Enix. They're constantly disappointed. I remember when the numbers came out on Hitman, they were like, oh, it didn't hit expectations. Numbers came out on Tomb Raider. It didn't meet expectations.
I like that they're constantly disappointed because it's a very mutual relationship between them and their consumers.
And it's just, I think when they bought IDOS, they're like, we've got a Western developer now. We're gonna have Call of Duties every year. No, anything like under 5 million in the first 2 months is a disappointment to them. I bring this up because in their latest earnings call, they complained about Guardians of the Galaxy doing 4 million. And they didn't say the number, they just said it did not perform to expectations, which is weird because it was critically well received. And selling 4 million on a Marvel game from Square Enix right after what they did to Avengers, dude, you got lucky. Like,
That's the thing. Yeah, it had a slow start because everybody was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then it sold pretty well.
So I don't know in their mind what makes a success. I guess 5 million is the number, right? 5 million is the magic number.
I guess.
But you're not going to get 5 million selling games when you keep pumping out trash. It's just, we need to see the old Square. And the worst part is you know that when Final Fantasy 16 comes out, the PlayStation exclusive Final Fantasy 16, they're going to be like, why didn't it sell 10 million?
You put it on half the consoles.
Because you locked it to one system. You giant idiots.
Remember when you could see Squaresoft, Square Enix on a box, and it was like a pretty solid guarantee of quality? Absolutely. Even like Final Fantasy 13, which I thought was a raging piece of garbage, was well made.
Yeah, it just had a bad story.
Yeah.
The dialogue sucked, but
yeah,
it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a competently made game.
Yeah.
If it had some, shortcomings that made me not play past 20 hours.
This is going to sound terrible, but maybe Square should be looking at some offers on the table. Maybe if they're not making enough money, just take that big old bag from Sony and get the hell out before you make another Final Fantasy movie.
No, no. The Final Fantasy movie, for all of its faults, was an ambitious idea, and that is not what Square Enix does anymore.
True. At least they're not Konami. Speaking of Japanese developers who don't know what they're doing. Did you catch that Street Fighter 6 trailer? Oh, so I love this, right? Because everyone was speculating what this countdown from Capcom was going to be. But the moment that I realized that there was going to be a Capcom tournament that evening, it was like, oh, okay, it's a fighting game. Probably Street Fighter 6. Even though their last DLC character just came out like 3 months ago for Street Fighter 5. So weird choice there. Not mad at it. So what they showed us as far as this trailer goes was a clip of the widest Ryu I have ever seen. This boy, ultra thick.
His billboard chest.
And they're running off the new RE engine, right?
Mm.
So I guess that's why, because Chris Redfield was an ultra thick boy when he showed up at the end of Resident Evil 7. And if I just spoiled that for you, saying Chris Redfield's in Resident Evil 7, then you were never going to play it anyway, so... This could only be worse if they gave us a terrible logo at the end. A terrible logo that looks like an app thing, like one of those little art pieces that you have for an app tray on your phone. You know what?
You were putting together your little indie app and you got a graphic designer off of Fiverr. And
funny enough, it turns out that they just straight up took this, made some minor tweaks. They straight up took this from a stock art website.
Yeah, I think it was Adobe stock art.
Yeah. They just grabbed some stock art and were like, that's Street Fighter. Not like that font, that totally radical fire blazing logo has been synonymous with the series for years. We're just going to take a weird hexagon, throw an S and an F and a tiny 6 at the bottom. Like, hey, SF, you got 6 notifications, bro. This is terrible. And I know, we're not judging a whole game based off of this logo, but you didn't give us anything else to talk about, did you?
Wasn't the S and F already in the logo they found?
They just
unrelated.
tweaked the F a little bit.
Yeah, the little middle line goes down.
I mean, okay.
It's a little thicker.
I'll give you your props. You're releasing a Darkstalkers collection, and that's pretty rad. You're calling it a Capcom Fighters collection was a little bit of a misnomer, but you're giving us a Darkstalkers collection.
5 or 6 Darkstalkers.
5 Darkstalkers, Puzzle Fighters, Gym Fighters, and then Red Earth. That's really bad.
It was Cyberbots.
Oh yeah, Cyberbots. And then a Street Fighter.
Yeah.
In case you haven't gotten one yet. I mean, it's rad. I'll pay $20 for it. If you charge more than that, burn in hell. Our last story for the week is about a game that is inescapable. If you care anything about video games, this is the most hyped game since, I don't know, the last hyped game. Elden Ring is killing it with the review scores. Absolutely murdering it. Right now on OpenCritic, as of recording this, it's sitting at a 96 overall rating out of 116 reviews. Not a single negative rating for the game yet, which even the one game higher than it, Breath of the Wild, is at 97, but it still has 2 negative reviews for some reason, probably just contrarians or whatever. So this is kind of unheard of. If this was Rotten Tomatoes, 100% fresh. There hasn't been a score given for this game below a 90.
Jeez.
It's insane. Now, I've been playing it the past day and a half, and I can see where these scores are coming from. I haven't gotten too far into it because I also have a life and I don't get paid to play video games, unfortunately. I need a Patreon. But this game is not flawless. And by that, I mean, if you're playing it on PC, you can have up to a quarter second of stutter every time you get into combat. Anytime you're in the open world, you can expect your frame rates to drop to 50 or so. If you're on PS5, even playing in frame performance mode, you can still expect to hit 45 to 50 on your frames instead of that 60 that we assumed you would get. And Honestly, for a PS5 game, like coded for PS5, when you have two different settings where you can either go quality or performance, it's kind of ridiculous. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not making me hate the game. I love it. Spoilers, it's my recommendation for the week. But this needs to be fixed. I'm sure it'll get patched out. This isn't something that can be ignored. It's just right now it's not in the best shape possible. One of the streamers I like to watch, unfortunately, did have to stop playing because his PC crashed twice while playing it, and that's because of poorly optimized drivers. Simple as that. But it raises an interesting question as far as game reviews. If this game is performing this poorly, how is it scoring so high? And I think that's just, as reviewers, we've all just come to accept that could be patched. This is fine. We can go back and update it if for some reason this doesn't get patched out. But to come out and say that the game's complete garbage, that's a review that's going to live forever. That's your review, as it will stand till the end of time. And to condemn a game because it's not well optimized when it can be through patches, it just makes sense. So before you kill a journalist like me, just keep that in mind, that you can play a game and tell what they're going to fix and tell what is just bad out of the gate.
Yeah, especially when it's a company with a good track record.
Yeah. FromSoft ain't dropping no bombs. Even Dark Souls 2, the worst of their games, was still pretty good. Just wasn't, on par with everything else. Now, Armored Core, that's a different story.
It's hella good.
So good. All right, I know you're sitting there thinking, hey, too many games have come out. Can y'all please slow the hell down? No, there's no getting off this train we're on. March 1st is going to see, just announced, this one is going to be Aperture Desk Job from Valve. I know. Who thought they made games? Crazy. Now, of course, it's going to be a short little, job simulator experience. Just something like a pack-in for your Steam Deck. But still, it's worth noting that someone at Valve made a game. Probably just like one dude, though. Also, on the 1st, we're going to get Shadow Warrior 3 on the PS4, Xbox, and on PC. Now, these games have always been a fun time if you're into boomer shooters, and there's one of us here that's really into that stuff.
I haven't played these yet.
That's insane that I've played more Shadow Warrior than Alan.
Well, I played OG Shadow Warrior.
That's fair. Trying to keep your cred, I appreciate it.
Yeah, built them just tough as nails, hard shit.
So if you like tough as nails, hard as shit FPS games, maybe Shadow Warrior 3 is still like that. I know they brought in a grappling hook. I don't know who to blame for that, but every game's got grappling hooks now. Then we're going to see you on March 3rd over on the PlayStation and your little PCs to play Babylon's Fall, the first games as a service game from Platinum Games. We didn't touch on it here on the show, but they've come out and said that instead of making good games, they just want to kind of focus on games as a service games. So this is the beginning of the end for Platinum. It's been a fun ride. Let's go play Metal Gear Revengeance in honor. But something that's even more interesting to me is Square Enix's Babylon's Fall. Maybe it's pluralized. Who cares?
It's possessive.
No, it's pluralized. There's multiple Babylons and they're all falling. It comes out on the 3rd, right?
Yes.
So Triangle Strategy, another game from Square Enix with their 3D, 2D studio. We're just going to release it the day after. The day after. Don't get me wrong, they're separate consoles. This is only on Switch. They're separate styles of games. But at the same time, gamers are going to have to decide which one to throw money at and which one to wait for a sell on. And I've got a pretty good feeling that neither one of them. It's going to be neither one. Sorry, Square, you've got another disappointment on your hands. And then lastly, on March 4th, That's a really aggressive date.
Okay.
We have Gran Turismo 7 coming out on PlayStation 5 and PS4, which is the weird thing to me. I would think that this would be a PS5 exclusive. You want to show off your graphical goodies. But I guess that's what Ratchet & Clank was for, so you're like, whatever, we'll put out a PS4 version. Anyway, I'm probably going to pick this one up, maybe wait for a sale, because, God, we are just in a packed time for games right now. But Gran Turismo has always been a fun time to me, and it's always been a graphical powerhouse. And if you want to see what your PS5 can do, boot it up. All right, and finally, before I send you home, I ain't going to waste a whole lot of time on this. Go play Elden Ring. Thanks for joining us this week, guys. We'll see you next week. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends. Good night.